Hello and welcome to SaltWire today for Friday, January 13th. I'm your host, Kate Walker. The Liberal Party of Nova Scotia is calling for an emergency legislature session about the healthcare crisis happening in our ERs. In a joint statement from the Liberal Party and the Shadow Minister for Health, they shed light on the two recent tragedies of women losing their lives after being unable to access emergency care quickly.
Seems completely hypocritical coming from a premier that ran on an election promise to fix healthcare. And he told Nova Scotians that he had the solutions. And now he doesn't want to be in the legislature to answer questions on what these supposed solutions are. You know, there were commitments made to Nova Scotians, universal mental health care coverage, surgeries that would happen 24/7, recruitment of 300 new doctors a year. And none of these promises that the premier ran on have even come close to being executed on.
The statement reads in part, the tragedies that have recently unfolded highlight a failure of the Houston government to provide emergency services when Nova Scotians need them the most. They mentioned Houston calling emergency sessions in the past to debate MLA pay raises and are calling on him now to join an emergency session of the legislature to investigate the tragedies taking place in emergency rooms. A rainfall warning is in effect for the province heading into the weekend. Mainland Nova Scotia is expected to see heavy rain and the potential for freezing rain and flash floods. Up to 80 millimeters could be seen in parts of the province. Our weather specialist Alistair Alders has more on what to expect here in HRM overnight into tomorrow.
Thanks, Kate. Well, after needing my winter jacket the past 2 days, I dug out the spring coat today. Temperatures did warm up quite significantly here in the Halifax area and across really much of Nova Scotia. Temperatures on the rise, some double-digit highs forecast over parts of the province, but it was a cold start to the day. So as precipitation from this Colorado low arrived, there was some snow. As we take a look at the radar imagery from this morning into this afternoon, you can see that precipitation did begin as snow over much of the province, and that did create some tricky driving conditions, especially from the Annapolis Valley through the North Shore and over parts of eastern Nova Scotia. But it was a fairly fast transition over to rain, and that rain was heavy at times as we went through the afternoon, although the snow did hang on just a little bit in parts of Cape Breton. Now, in terms of what we can expect tonight heading into Saturday, much the same. Periods of rain, heavy at times. Temperatures will be mild. The rain does continue for much of the day on Saturday. Now, rainfall amounts as we head into Saturday, a widespread 20 to 40 millimeters across the province. However, I do expect there will be pockets of 40 up to 80 plus millimeters in Nova Scotia, hence why a rainfall warning has been issued, as Kate mentioned off the top there. The concern then shifts, though, Saturday night and Sunday that we could see an extended period of freezing rain over Nova Scotia, and I'll have a full timeline of what to expect this weekend coming up in just a bit. Back to you, Kate.
And Alistair will be back in the weather section with a full weekend timeline of events for the province. We're getting a look at some high-tech equipment helping with surgeries now housed inside the Dartmouth General Hospital. The Mego Smart Robotics System, the second surgical robot of its kind in Canada, is being used here. The robotic arm is controlled by a surgeon during hip and knee surgeries and helps with precision for the placement of a joint implant.
Every surgery that we do, hip and knee replacement surgery, it's excellent surgery. They're some of the best surgeries that have been provided to date, and yet we still have patients that aren't happy or that need redo surgery, and that's a big burden on the system and a horrible burden for the patient. And so what we're looking to do is narrow that gap, improve those outcomes so that Nova Scotians ultimately are much happier with their replacements and need fewer surgeries in the future.
The $2.5 million project is funded by the QE2 Foundation donors, with the QE2 Foundation actively raising funds to support the robot and the affiliated research.
It's an exciting day where the future is here. The future is now. We are funding the orthopedic robot at Dartmouth General, enabling Dr. Jennifer Layton, who has just finished the first robot-assisted hip replacement in Canada here at the Dartmouth General. It's a great milestone for Dartmouth General and something that the Foundation and our donors are really proud to support.
The long-term goal is to offer more advanced and personalized surgery for Nova Scotians with robotic technology. Well, here's something you don't see every day, a nighttime scuba dive on the Halifax waterfront. Last night, the East Coast Scuba and Water Sports organized a dive at the Queen's Mark Landing on the stairs to the Halifax Harbour. Recreational divers had to use glow sticks and dive lights for the dark dip.
The visibility is really good, and you get to see some other creatures that you don't see during the summer.
The group says visibility was as far as your light would go. Lots of marine life was spotted, such as sea ravens, starfish, rock gunnel crabs, and more. It's time for another edition of Wine of the Week. This month, SaltWire resident sommelier and foodie Mark DeWolf is exploring the cuisine of the Mediterranean and recommending wines from countries such as Greece to pair with your dish.
I'm going to introduce you to a wine from a country that you may not associate with winemaking. It's kind of strange that we don't associate Greece with great wine. They've been making it longer than most, and they have all the great conditions to make great wine. They got the moderation of the Mediterranean Sea, they got different elevations, and a lot of different soil types, ranging from hard, granitic soils to the volcanic soils of places like Santorini. So why isn't Greek wine well known? Well, probably a number of factors. One may be that they had a curious appreciation of a fairly unique wine style called Retsina, which is made by adding a little pine resin to unfermented grape juice, and it gives a kind of a rosemary, piney kind of aroma to the wines. It harkens back millennia to how wines used to be preserved, in amphora or clay pots, and pine resin used to kind of seal them. Anyway, the fascination with Retsina is waning a little bit in Greece, and that's letting other star grape varietals come to the fore. What I love is they're indigenous, so grapes like Asiatico, Xinomavro, and Aguritico. So today, I'm going to introduce you to Aguritico. So this one from the Peloponnese, so in the south of Greece, is really fresh, plummy fruit, but really easy to drink. So if you like Merlot, you don't want anything too hard, Aguritico is a great wine to find because it's fruity, slightly savory, nice freshness to it, but not bitter and tannic. So I can imagine having this with some mild cheeses, pasta with, a tomato sauce, or maybe a Greek moussaka. It's worth looking around the corner at your local wine stores to find some of these wines from regions that you might not have thought about before, but I want you to start thinking about Greek wine.
For wine tips, recipes, and more, head to the Wine and Dine section of saltwire.com. It's time now for a glimpse of today's Thinking Out Loud with Sheldon McLeod. Today, Sheldon is speaking with Amy Graves, who says the healthcare system is in crisis, but doesn't want people to blame the staff.
The situation that happened with Alison Holthoff could very well have been yourself. And as you recognize the challenges in the system with the people who are overworked, overwhelmed. So what is your advice? What would you like people to know, Amy, about this situation and the crisis in healthcare?
Oh, well, I guess first of all, I don't think the frustration should lay on the staff. It's like I'm torn because I have a lot of anger. Well, I don't want to say, yeah, you can say anger, frustration with the system itself and how it's failed me. And you always look for someone to blame, even though maybe, blame isn't a good word, but you want to find the problem and you want to be able to rationalize why that bad thing happened to you. Where did life go wrong to make this happen? And I really don't think it's the staff or the doctors. I just think it's gotten to the point where the system is on a verge of collapse, and they're working as hard as they can, and burnout setting in, and they're overlooking things and trying to keep things moving, trying to get beds empty. And in the process, they're overlooking possibly fatal situations.
And for Sheldon's full conversation, head to the opinion section of saltwire.com. Time now for the Atlantic Sports Wire, presented by Scott Squires.
Matt McCarron plays with the Martello Buccaneers. He lives in Bears Lake, and he's here playing at the SaltWire East Coast Ice Jam. Matt, how's it feel to be here?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, this is a really special tournament. A lot of good players here, so it's just really nice to be able to have the opportunity to play. This was a great 3 games. Our team really battled hard, and that's really all you can ask for. Just didn't really get the results we wanted.
Toward the end, you guys were all around the net. It wouldn't go in for you. What's that like, and what kind of things do you talk about with your teammates when that's happening?
Yeah, that's all you can really ask for. Just that compete level at the end of the game and that drive to win. So, unfortunately, it didn't go in, but that's all you can really ask for.
This is your second Ice Jam. What does it mean to you to be able to play in a tournament like this?
Yeah, it's really special. This is obviously a really nice tournament, and being able to play for so many games in this tournament is really awesome. Just a great experience.
Last thing for you, how old were you when you started playing, and how'd you get into the game?
I started playing really young, maybe 5 or 6 years old. It was my parents. They were so supportive growing up and just kept me on the ice, and just fell in love since then.
You can learn more about the Ice Jam by visiting their website, icejam.ca. In Lance, I'm Scott Squires for the Atlantic Sports Wire.
Thank you, Scott. On to weather now to see what's coming up in the weekend forecast. We're going to check back in now with our weather specialist, Alistair Alders.
Hi again, Kate. Well, the weather forecast for the upcoming weekend, complex and challenging. This is because the Colorado low, bringing this initial period of unsettled weather, will move off to the northeast tomorrow. A cold front will then stall over the province. That will bring a mix of rain and freezing rain. And then a secondary low pressure system developing between Cape Hatteras and Cape Cod will move northward and keep the unsettled weather in the forecast into early next week. But let's break down what to expect this weekend with your weather timeline, showing precipitation, cloud cover, and of course, temperature. And you can see that we will continue to have periods of rain across the province tonight and as we head into Saturday. That rain, as I mentioned earlier in the show, will be heavy at times. And given that the ground has been freezing up over the last few days, there is the risk that we could see some localized pooling and flooding on the roadways. So please do take care as you make your way out. But as that front stalls over the region, we'll start to see some northerly winds develop throughout the day on Saturday, and temperatures will begin to drop. So you can see as we progress through Saturday night into the overnight hours, that rain starts to mix with some freezing rain over much of mainland Nova Scotia. And throughout the day on Sunday, rain mixed with freezing rain across much of the province. Now, I do think directly along the Atlantic coast, it will remain warm enough for just rain or just mixing with some freezing rain at times. But we could see an extended period of freezing rain on Sunday for interior regions of Nova Scotia. So travel could become dangerous on Sunday. Keep a very close eye on the forecast and maybe consider postponing any travel plans that you do have on Sunday. That freezing rain risk will continue throughout Sunday, but as the center of the Cape Hatteras low starts to approach to our south, temperatures do warm up and the freezing rain changes back over to periods of rain on Monday. And the periods of rain are forecast to continue through Tuesday, finally easing up as we head into Wednesday. In terms of that freezing rain risk, I have a map outlining where the greatest potential for this extended period of freezing rain will be. And you can see that it looks like the best shot at an extended period will be over interior areas of Nova Scotia. And this means we could be dealing with dangerous driving conditions, the potential for power outages, and also ice that will accrete on trees could lead to some local tree damage. And it's a great reminder to pass along now that freezing rain looks like ordinary rain. It freezes on contact with surfaces. Ice pellets are frozen and they bounce off the ground or bounce off your window. So remember, freezing rain looks like ordinary rain. It can create for very dangerous driving conditions. As we look at the additional rainfall forecast, you can see some areas could receive up to 100 millimeters of rain as we head into early next week. It certainly looks like between Sunday and Tuesday, an additional 20 to 50 plus millimeters here in Halifax. A quick look at the wind forecast. Winds do become northerly through the weekend, lighter than they were today, but still gusty throughout the weekend. And then winds do start to shift direction and temperatures warm up as we head into early next week. But I think the main point for this weekend is the risk of freezing rain, and that needs to be taken seriously. So please do pay close attention to the forecast and make sure to consider postponing or limiting your travel, especially if you're traveling over interior areas of the province on Sunday. Stay safe and have a great weekend. Kate.
Thank you, Alistair. That's all for now. For more extended video and full online articles, stay tuned to SaltWire.com. And you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. I'm your host, Kate Walker. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you back here Monday.